Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today on the bench I have an early Christmas present to myself. It's a Wyler branded watch, and if I had to guess, it's probably from the 1950s. The case is in pretty good shape cosmetically. The bezel indices are pretty worn out, there's hardly any paint left in them. That'll be easy enough to restore though. It's got some lume paint on it, which is probably radium, so I'll have to take some precautions while working on it. The crystal is a little scratched up, so I'll replace that. The crown is sticking out a bit, and it looks a little crooked, so the stem is probably bent. The movement looks like it's pretty loose in the case too, so I'll have to see what's going on there as well. I was going to try and restore this band as well, but the leather's torn here, so I'll get a new one. The case back is in pretty good condition, only a few scratches. I can tell this hasn't been polished before, so I'm going to leave it as is to keep the engravings crisp. The Inca block marking on the back also tells me the movement probably isn't original to the case, as Wyler had their own Inca Flex shock protection system. The case lugs have some plating loss, but it's very minimal. I'm going to remove the remaining lume from the hands, but I'm going to leave the lume on the dial as is. I haven't decided if I'm going to repaint the hands yet, but I'll probably leave them unlumed. The reason I'm removing the hand lume is this will continue to flake off and damage the dial, which is what that cloudy pattern is. Let's open up the case now and take a look at the movement. So at some point the original Wyler branded movement was replaced with this Banner branded one. It's a much lower quality one than the original would have been, so I'm going to try and source a Wyler branded one. Here you can get a better look at the crystal. Normally I'd try to polish this, but it's not a great idea with it being contaminated with radium. The best way to remove old lume from hands is to submerge them in liquid while using a piece of pegwood to scrape it off. That way none of the radioactive particles become airborne. It's always best to leave the dial alone, as you're likely going to damage it in the process of trying to clean it. The most I do on a dial like this is use a Q-tip to remove any loose particles. Here you can see the stem isn't sitting straight. This is actually from the crown threads being damaged. While I'm waiting for the new movement, I went ahead and cleaned the case and painted the bezel indices. This is step 1. I'm going to add a clear coat over the paint to hopefully make it more durable once the paint is dried. This is just regular enamel paint if you're wondering. The new movement has arrived, so let's start the disassembly. The hour wheel looks good. Now I'll remove the detent spring. It looks like there's some excess lubricant on the keyless works. These parts look fine otherwise. Next up is the minute wheel. It's a little scratched up, but it looks fine otherwise. The third wheel's jewel, on the other hand, does not look fine. I don't comment on other watchmakers' repairs very often, but this is one of the worst repair jobs I've ever seen. Not only does it look terrible, I can guarantee there's too much end shake on the third wheel now, and this is also pretty much unfixable. I'll remove the clutch lever spring now, using a piece of pegwood to keep the spring from flying off. So apparently it's not lubricant causing everything to stick together. I didn't notice it because of my nickel alloy tweezers, but these parts are extremely magnetic. They all look fine otherwise, thankfully. The cannon pinion looks fine. That's the dial side complete, so let's flip over and take a look at the gear train. This is what I expected to see when I first opened the watch. This is a Wyler Incaflex balance. The general idea is the balance arms are thin and flexible, so if you drop the watch, it will protect the balance staff from the full force by allowing the rim to move somewhat independently. This was their form of shock protection, and I think in general it works pretty well. Once I remove the balance complete, you'll also see the pallet fork bridge is shaped in a way to keep the balance from flexing too much. I'll start by removing the sweep second pinion. It looks fine. This is the tension spring. It keeps the sweep second pinion at a constant height. Now I'll remove the driving wheel for the sweep seconds. The pivot it's friction fit to is pretty delicate. I've modified a pair of hand pullers specifically for these wheels. The drive wheel looks good. And the extended pivot looks fine. Now I'll remove the ratchet and crown wheels. The engraving has a bit of rust. I'll clean that out as best I can. The underside's a little scratched, but it's in good condition. The rust is mainly in the R and S letters. The crown wheels normally have a spacer ring on these movements. The crown wheel's in pretty good shape. Now I'll remove the balance assembly and take a look at the pivots and hairspring. It's probably hard to see, but the hairspring is bent a bit in the middle of the coils. This is fixable, but the timekeeping will be off no matter how close you get it back to normal. I'm already going to be ordering a new base plate, so I might as well get a new balance as well. The balance jewels look good, no chipping that I can see. Here's the balance cage. You can see witness marks where the balance rim has made contact with it, so it's definitely served its purpose. This also can't be removed until the gears and plates have been removed, so I'll remove the barrel bridge now. These white splotches are suggestive of moisture. No major wear on the barrel bridge though. The third wheel's upper jewel has a chip along the rim, which is pretty uncommon on these. This was almost assuredly from the bridge being forced down without the pivot being in the jewel hole. That's likely also what broke the bottom jewel, which led to the poor quality repair. Now I'll inspect the gears and jewels. One of the second wheel's teeth is bent, so that will also need to be replaced. All of the other gears and jewels look fine, so let's take a look at the mainspring. The barrel lid has a bit of plating loss, but looks fine. The mainspring also looks perfectly fine, so I'll reuse that. So, with all the damaged parts on this movement, I'm going to roll the dice on another one. The cost of all the replacement parts would actually be more than buying a whole movement, and I could use the spare parts anyway. So I'll be back once everything's cleaned, repaired, and ready to go. Here's the movement, fully repaired. I knew going into this that it was going to be one of the more involved restorations I've done in a while, but at this point this watch is a good allegory for Theseus's paradox. Here's the dial. I decided not to paint the hands for now. I'll probably paint them the next time I service it. Let's case this up and put it on the time grapher now. It's certainly not my best timekeeper, but a total delta under 30 seconds per day isn't terrible. And here's the watch, cased and completed. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.